Joining us on this edition of the News Review, we have Press TV's very own Johnny Miller, who's joining us from Moscow. Also, we have political analyst farshidbagherian, who's joining us from Karaj in Iran. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. Let's start off with Johnny. Johnny, talk to us about all the recent agreements facilitating of transit of goods and fuel. What does this all mean? And overall, talk to us about the importance of this economic forum in Russia.
Well, I think what you're seeing here is a continuation of the development of the new multipolar world. It's clear that Russian relations with China are strong and developing, and Russia's relations with Iran are strong and developing. And I think this is just one cog. You'll see many more of these meetings and these conferences and agreements between Russia, Iran, between China, between other countries in the global south, for example. And you're seeing the world dividing. Of course, with this war in Ukraine, NATO countries, Europe and the United States have very much cut themselves off from Russia, and you're seeing the world dividing. And so countries are looking towards new allies to deepen alliances, to develop their own economies free from the global system, which was dominated by the United States before. So I think you're going to see continued development like this, economic partnerships, trade partnerships between countries, particularly Russia, China, Iran, India, other countries as well. We're moving away from the global system dominated by the United States.
Mr. Bagherian and Karaj, give us your thoughts on the importance of this agreement between Iran, Russia, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan. Johnny just mentioned that we're seeing the further development of a multipolar world. Do you see it in that light as well?
Thank you. I believe that this agreement is already done, but right now St. Petersburg is hosting this forum as the biggest of its kind in the world, that's ornamented by the presidency of Russia. That it's already done, because I avoid that put any label that this is northern corridor or southern corridor, because the corridor lifetime is dependent on the agreement of the countries, that the states that within this. So I avoid to labeling any geographical label for that. But the fact is, after the COVID-19, the region was suffered from the supply chain lag, and this type of the corridors can reduce or produce. It's better to say that produce the supply chain. Duration for the countries of the region, especially the supply chain from China to the Europe. But this type of the corridors, that this kind of agreement for the corridors is that can bring civilization, can bring peace, because road can bring you civilization, and the peace is coming for the region, because many states in the Central Asia are suffering from for example, the shortness of water, the shortness of other, for example, groups, Islam. This can bring, because of any corridor and road line, railroad, and any kind of road, you have to produce the security and the safeguarding of the road. And this is the most important point of that this is some kind of the intersubjectively. How can I explain, is this point of security. This road can bring security to the region. This is the crucial factor of this agreement. Thank you for the first question.
Johnny, do you agree with our guest, Mr. Bagherian? Such corridors that facilitate the transit of goods and fuel not only can affect the economy of these countries in the region, but it also can bring about and affect security in the region as well.
Well, yes, a lot of businessmen are keen on saying that the way to peace is through commerce. And when countries are doing business with each other and relying on each other for trade and commerce, for gas supplies, for supplies of technology, for supplies of manufacturing goods, then obviously there's less chance of conflict between them, as it's in all parties' interests to continue trading rather than warring, and also to create security in these countries. To promote a successful business environment and peace and security in order to create prosperity. And I think also what you're seeing is particularly Russia is unable to trade with the West now. Russia, of course, a very large country, a powerful country. With these sanctions against Russia, you're seeing them look elsewhere for their trade and their future, frankly. And of course, Iran has been sanctioned for a long time. They've been looking at ways to deal with other partners. I think Iran has been very keen to deal with the West and to have commerce with the West. But it seems the West isn't very keen to have relations with them and commerce with them. And now the same with Russia. The West doesn't seem interested in commerce with Russia and only instead trying to damage Russia. So these countries are looking towards each other to do commerce, and that should bring about more peace and stability along with it.
Mr. Bagherian, one last question before we leave you. A notion that we've been hearing a lot, of policy that we've been coming across a lot recently is the issue of the de-dollarization of the global trade market. Right here, Iran, Russia, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, they're trying to facilitate the transit of goods and fuel. The Iranian president just got back from a three-nation tour in Latin America. Some Latin American countries are trying to use local currencies in their bilateral trade. What's the next phase, in your opinion, in this saga that we're seeing of trying to break the influence of the greenback in the global trade market?
Okay. De-dollarization takes a long time. It's not just only we can do it on papers. The fact is, a self-governed state, must do the business with their neighbors up to 70% of its trade. So that means that when we try to make any agreement with the neighbors in the region and try to upgrade the figures, the figures of the trade between us up to 70%, it means that you definitely do the de-dollarization in the region. And if you, for example, generalize de-dollarization in the region to the next region, it means that in the world sphere, you do that. So the first step is doing such disagreements, because, if you have a look on the aim of the St. Petersburg Forum, the most important fact is sustainable development based on the economy and based on the mutual interest. The mutual interest only make in the system to do the trade between us in the states in the region, and you can do it in the national currency, and you can maybe produce another currency, for example, common currency. So the fact is, when you try to upgrade the trade up to 70%, definitely you will reach your aim. Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot, gentlemen. Press TV's Johnny Miller joining us from Moscow, and Mr. Farshid Bagherian joining us from Karaj, Iran. With that, brings us to an end here on this edition of the News Review, but stick around, there's plenty more to come here on Press TV. See you in a bit.